The Short Stories of Henry W. Nevinson. An Introduction. Henry Woodd Nevinson was born on October the 11th, 1856. Nevinson was schooled at Shrewsbury and at Christ Church, Oxford, where John Ruskin influenced his time there. Fascinated by German culture, he spent some time studying at Jena before publishing in 1884 Herder and His Times, a study on Johann Gottfried Herder. In 1897 he became the Daily Chronicle's reporter for the Greco-Turkish War and was also noted for his reporting on the Second Boer War. In 1897 he became the Daily Chronicle's reporter for the Greco-Turkish War and was also noted for his reporting on the Second Boer War. During the 1880s, Nevinson had attached his politics to socialism and by 1889 had joined the Social Democratic Federation. In 1904 he was hired by Harper's monthly magazine to report on a supposed trade in slaves from Angola to the cocoa plantations of São Tomé. He produced evidence of people being trafficked to settle debts or seized by Portuguese agents and taken in shackles to the coastal towns. Once there, he wrote that Portuguese officials freed them and continued the charade by declaring that they were now voluntary workers who agreed to go to São Tomé for 5 years. Despite severe ill health, he continued to follow the slaves to São Tomé. He found plantation conditions so appalling that 1 in 5 workers died each year. His account was serialised from August 1905 and then published as A Modern Slavery the following year. He was also a suffragist, being one of the founders in 1907 of the Men's League for Women's Suffrage. In 1914 he co-founded the Friends Ambulance Unit and later in World War I, as a war correspondent, was wounded during the infamous Gallipoli campaign. Ian Forster described Nevinson's book More Changes, More Chances in 1925 as exciting, and that he was brought to the soil of his adoption, something that transcends party generosity, recklessness, a belief in conscience joined to a mistrust of principles. A committed socialist, Nevinson could see during the 20s and 30s the foundations of a titanic struggle that had begun to gather its forces. He would later state, "I detest the cruel systems of persecution and suppression now existing under Hitler in Germany, Mussolini in Italy, and Stalin in Russia." Nevison married Margaret Wynne Jones. After her death in 1933, he married his longtime lover and fellow suffragist, Evelyn Sharp. Henry W. Nevinson died on November the 9th, 1941.
St. George of Rochester by Henry W. Nevinson. Before the week was well out, I got took on for a job as packer in the city, and every morning I was up almost as soon as light and riding along the road in a workman's car, same as if I'd kept a private gig. So I put in 2 hours' work till breakfast, and mostly got home again to tea by 6 or off past, having an hour off in the middle for my dinner at a cook shop. One evening we'd all done our teas and was feeling very comfortable, what with father having got a good job too for fitting some chapel or warehouse or something of that down in Bow, and as a keeping going pretty steady through winter in all weathers, the brickwork being finished off. And I was thinking to myself whether I'd get some fellas to come round with me and be chipping young Duffy, or pluck up heart to go and pass the time of evening to Lena Sullivan, she being one of them as likes you best when you're happy. But on a sudden there comes a knocking at the door, and little Susan Moore sticks her head in a kind of voice like saying poetry at school. "If you please, father's gone and had another stroke, and wants to see Mr. Britton very particular." "That's a bad job," says me father. "At any rate, I reckon it's about all over with old Timo. He'll snuff it sure as I'm alive. All right, my dear, I'll come along this minute. Just set yourself down and take a cup of tea." Old Timo had fell on his back in lading a lighter the spring afore, and been queer all down one side ever since. For all he's been able to move about and carry things, but
Sample complete. Ready to continue?